Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. The Defense Department, under considerable scrutiny and a little bit of pressure, has restored pages across its websites and social media platform that were deleted during a widespread purge of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion content. Among those deleted was an article recognizing the military career of baseball legend Jackie Robinson, who was drafted during World War II. The Defense Department also, for a brief period of time, purged, then restored web pages about Navajo code talkers, Tuskegee Airmen, Marines at Iwo Jima, and much more. It released a statement Friday saying, quote, some content was archived that should not have been. That word archived is much more benign than actually occurred. That's a fact. Richard Brookshire joins me now. He is the co-founder of the Black Veterans Project, which works to support both active and retired Black service members. Richard, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. How much do you feel this Jackie Robinson saga of recent vintage is a prism into this entire effort by the Trump Department of Defense to rewrite or whitewash history within that institution?
I mean, I think you surmised it perfectly. I think what's happening is part of the intention to deconstruct diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and practices that took decades to build to foster some level of inclusion, some level of equitable access for the Black community. When you talk about, the military, which undergirds such a large portion of our economy, right? And the disparities that have persisted in the military are quite telling. I think this, particular historical erasure, and not all the web pages have been restored. Many of them have been lost forever. There's also talks over the weekend that there is going to be a deliberate purge of anything that has to do with historical firsts. So you're erasing context, right? The fact that many of these Black service members served under a particular racial order in this country that we've been trying to right a historical wrong about for many years and have only begun to really make strides about that. I think, lastly, I think it's important to talk about some surveys that were done in recent years. In 2017, there was the only time that the Department of Defense released a racial equity survey that they do internally every 2 years. Reuters reported on that, and it said that 1 in every 3 Black service members were experiencing racial discrimination or harassment in uniform. Military Times in 2020 did a survey, said that half of minority veterans were seeing racial animus and prejudice while in uniform, while in service, and a full 1/3 of all troops were seeing ideologically driven racism in the ranks, right? This administration is trying to deliberately undermine the fact that these findings were found. In the last administration, you had the appointment of 2 Black men to lead the Department of Defense, and that was met with ire by certain folks in the Department of Defense. And we didn't have a public dialogue about the ways in which their leadership was being subverted. And now you have a full court press by the Trump administration to not only deconstruct DEI, but to really just attack the service, the historical service and continued service of Black service members.
Richard, you mentioned that 2017 survey, but if you Google information about that, you see the Reuters exclusive with a date of 2021, indicating that the Pentagon sat on it for years.
It sat on it for years, yes. And we were the ones that worked with Reuters to try to get them to bring it to light, right? And we still haven't been able to get any of the other years of survey data. And why? Well, the question is really why. What are they trying to hide? Why
is there a lack of itself?
That's an answer within itself, yes, because there continues to be a race problem within the body of our military that is deeply unfortunate.
And in that survey and the other ones you mentioned, not only is there statistical information about experiencing some manner of racial discrimination, but a fear that if you bring anyone's attention to it, you will hamper your advancement.
Right. Well, I mean, you look at the fact that the Trump administration released a directive with hundreds of words to try to sanitize the ways in which people can even talk about the issues that we're discussing right now. That within itself, to me, is a clear attempt at trying to subvert any kind of effort to even make this reality something that can be contended with, because you can just label it DEI, which, they've co-opted the language around to begin with. Everything that has to do with race is suddenly DEI or identity politics, and so it should be discarded. And then you look like folks like General Brown, who came out publicly after the George Floyd protests and said that he spoke about his lived experiences with racial discrimination in the military, that barriers that he had to overcome, the things that he still had to deal with as a black man in America. That was part and parcel of the reason why he was purged from the DOD.
And all of this is done under the explanation of improving lethality, unit cohesion, and general unity within the military.
Right. Well, that's a misnomer, because you can't possibly say that you want unit cohesion while trying to undermine, trying to subvert, trying to discard literally hundreds of thousands of black minority service members. You can't do that while you're also attacking women in the military, LGBTQ folks who are highly skilled, folks who bring a deep passion and love of country to their service, and to pretend as though that because of their identity, suddenly that their lethality in uniform is somewhat in question is an insult to them in their service.
Richard Brookshire, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.